Well, it took a while, but the Predators have another All-Star. We'll talk about Roman Josi being added to the NHL All-Star Weekend. Plus, what do the Preds need to improve on in order to keep up their current pace, get them a march to the playoffs? We'll talk about a few suggestions. Plus, it's Monday. That means it's plus minus. We'll look at the highs and lows from the past week of Predators hockey, all coming up today on Locked On Predators.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Well, thank you for making Locked On Predators your first listen of the day. I'm Nick Morgan. I'm a writer and editor at ontheforecheck.com, and I have a partner in crime who has graciously agreed to carry the show today because somebody was having a little bit too much fun in Cincinnati last night. I'm on the Who Dey bandwagon now, so yeah.
I love it.
Yay.
Who Dey. I'm here for this. I 100% support your support, having lived in Cincinnati myself. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at ontheforecheck.com. Who Dey. Love it.
People were very salty about this on Twitter yesterday. And I'm not sure why, because the Bengals are a fun young team taking on a team who's been to the last two Super Bowls. So it's like, why are you actively not wanting the Bengals to win, other than the fact that they kind of beat Tennessee?
Yeah, there's it. That's, I think right there, it has landed. But you know what? If Cincinnati can beat Tennessee, and if they can work their way through these playoffs like they have, and if they can be as fun as they've been to watch, I'm all for putting them on the biggest stage. Let's see what they can do.
Yeah, be mad at Ryan Tannehill. Don't be mad at the Bengals. Misdirected anger, I think, there.
Yes.
This is a hockey podcast, though, so let's talk about hockey. It took a while, better late than never, but the Predators have another All-Star. Roman Josi is going to the game, just like he probably should have already been going to the game. He has been added as an injury replacement for Nathan MacKinnon, who, of course, is going to miss some time after that hit from Taylor Hall. And this feels like the universe kind of correcting itself, right?
Oh, the fact that Roman Josi was not already at the All-Star game is just baffling and makes one question the way this whole thing is set up. You know, one of the best defensemen in the NHL, thrilled that he gets to get there, slightly still insulted at the way that it happens. And my guess is he probably had some really nice vacation plans that he's going to have to cancel. So I feel real bad for him on that. But I love seeing him get the recognition that he deserved from the get-go.
For sure. And I think you mentioned that this probably is a reminder of the NHL might need to take a look at how the rosters are selected, because, I think the game itself, the 3-on-3 and like the division stuff, is kind of fun. It is kind of like a fun thing. But I think the one downside, especially if you're trying to get a bunch of players on the roster from each team, you're going to wind up with a few notable people fighting for maybe one or two extra spots.
Yes, you're going to eliminate some people doing it that way. Yeah.
So, I mean, and it's a nothing game anyway. So, I mean, why not just, load up on, rosters and have them play 2 to 3 minutes of your 20-minute game, So, I don't think like somebody like Alex Ovechkin is going to lose sleep over not getting a lot of ice time in the NHL All-Star Game.
And no, I don't see him really spending much time thinking about the NHL All-Star Game personally. But yeah, I agree. I think, and there's some things they really need to do differently with the All-Star Game. And we've talked about that before, and you've touched on some of that already. But I do think the All-Star Game is a little bit of a missed opportunity on a number of levels. And having Roman Josi not get voted in already is a miss for me. So I'm glad that he is going. I'm glad he gets the recognition he deserved, but this should have come a different way.
Yeah, I mean, Nazem Kadri got the vote, and he should have been on the roster to begin with. He shouldn't even be part of the vote. So it's like, so I guess there's just a lot of stuff going on with the NHL All-Star Weekend, which is coming up this weekend.
Yes.
By the way, kind of a weird season that kind of snuck up on everybody. We're all like, what is happening? Is there going to be Olympics or not? So we'll definitely have to see how that plays out. But hey, at least a couple of Preds to cheer for. Nap is going to be there too, doing his big old saber-toothed tiger thing. So so I mean, there's at least a lot of things for Preds fans to watch and kind of get behind. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes this weekend. Let's talk about the Nashville Predators, the non-All-Star version. Kind of a mixed bag over the past couple of weeks or so. Predators are still very much firmly in control of their own playoff destiny, both standings wise and just based on points percentage, whichever way you choose to look at things. They've beaten some really good teams, but have also had some very bad performances against bad to mediocre teams.
Yes.
So, what our topic today, our main topic is just kind of looking at the Nashville Predators. What do they need to do to get to that finish line? What do they need to do to kind of keep up their earlier performance, be a contender at the end? And so that's kind of our brainstorming process today. We're going to go into the Predators locker room. We are going to give John Hines and the crew some advice, just like Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side. And hopefully Yakov Trenin does not get distracted by a balloon floating in the air.
Although I could see that happening. He's so delightful. But speaking of Yakov Trenin, let me start off with my first thing. Perfect segue there, Nick. And we didn't even compare notes ahead of time. But for me, one of the things that kind of needs to improve going forward is the Herd line offense. Now, look, I understand this line is not put together to be a top scoring line. I understand that they have a very specific skill set like Liam Neeson does. But I feel like we have seen what they're capable of doing, and we're missing some of that. Yakov Trenin's been very quiet lately. Tanner Jeannot has been less dominant. We haven't had as many breakaways. We haven't had as much offense generating. And you look at something just as simple as just shots taken. And in the last 5 games, the Herd line has only taken 17 shots. Now, you compare that, of course, the top line's going to have the most, but Forsberg, Duchene, Granlund, they had 38 shots. You had Johansen, Cunnin, and Cousins because you had Tolby out in these last couple of games. They had 29 shots. Even the bottom line had comparable numbers to the Herd line. So they're just not maybe taking shots. They may not have much opportunity when they're on the ice as well. They seem to be the group that sort of gets the possession back and then steps off. But even, Matt Benning and Roman Josi in the last 5 games had as many shots as the Herd line did. So I'd really love to see them get a little bit more offense going. I feel like that's a key that's missing right now. And I think that's one of those smaller things where when the Predators are playing like they're playing now, it's one of those small things that could make a huge difference in the outcome of some games and, going down into the playoffs. So for me, I'd love to see some Herd line offense generated.
Yeah. And the thing with the Herd line, it's less about the numbers for me. And it's more about the impact. But I will say, speaking of numbers, we do have plus minus coming up, and part of this conversation is going to play into that for my end.
Yeah.
But I think for Herd line, it's more of like game impact, not necessarily on the score sheet. But that to me has kind of been a concern the past, at least the past 2 games, noticeably. And, we talked about this before, they're playing on the road. You might not get many oohs or ahs or crowd swells as you might have in Bridgestone Arena when Jeannot or somebody, dominates on the forecheck or something like that.
Right.
So maybe from that end, they're a little bit quiet, but they're not putting as much pressure on the other team. It feels like they're a little bit neutralized.
Yes.
And I think that's kind of the bigger thing. Now, is this just them having a slump? Are teams figuring out how to play them? That's going to be the $1 million question.
Yeah.
The other part of that is, hey, is it just the Preds are relying a little bit more on some of their top guys? I mean, you look down the lineup and, guys like Mikael Granlund and Ryan Johansen, Filip Forsberg, Matt Duchene are all routinely playing 20 plus minutes a game. That kind of cuts down ice time for other people. And, that fourth line, with Nick Cousins on it, they're starting to get a little bit more ice time too. So that's going to be the $1 million question. Hey, is this the Predators, kind of just balancing things out and maybe relying less on the herd line? Yeah. Or is this going to be, I guess, a concern? So yes, the $1 million question. That's something the Preds, I think, have to figure out.
No, I feel that way too, because they're not doing anything that is hurting the team. They're obviously still an important factor. They're a contributing team. They're playing identity hockey. So, I don't want to put the spotlight on them as not being effective, but we've just seen them be more offensively effective earlier in the season. And so it's like the kid that brought home the A. They're capable of generating some good offense. They're not generating as many chances. Why is that? And what do you need to address? And like you said, it may be not about the herd line. The issue may not be about them in particular, but I think it's something that the Predators have to get to the root of, because this is a line that we want performing at its best.
Yeah. Well, we have more thoughts on the Preds team coming up, plus, minus. What worked well this week, what didn't. Stay tuned for that. In the meantime, though, got to mention our friends at Built Bar. If you have a New Year's resolution that's either getting more fit or eating healthier, Built Bar is a perfect supplement to your plan. That's because Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. All Built Bars are covered in 100% real chocolate. So it doesn't taste like a chemical spill or some kind of chalky mess. You know how protein bars can be sometimes. Now, Built Bar's not like that. Most Built Bars contain, they're low in calories, low in sugar, low in net carbs, but all high in protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which is just loaded with extra sugar, dozens of net carbs, and lots of fat. So, if you need a good idea for the new year to keep your fitness goals on track, buy a box of Built Bars, stuff them in your pantry, stuff them in your office drawers, wherever you keep your goodies. If you're craving a 2 o'clock in the afternoon snack, put them in your car, put them in your gym bag, have one ready when you're done with your workout. Lots of ways to keep yourself on track. Plus, great flavors for anybody to choose from. We have eggnog, we have the churro puffs, which I'm kind of excited to try, and peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream, salted caramel, mint brownie. So many. Built Bar is always coming out with new limited time flavors. So head to the website, check out built.com to see what's new. And while you're there, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Again, that is promo code LOCKED15, all one word, for 15% off at built.com. Well, and tomorrow is one of our more favorite segments.
Oh, yes.
Here on Locked On Predators. It is Hot Take Tuesday.
The greatest.
Basically what this is we ask you to send in your hot takes on the Preds, on the NHL. You give us your spiciest opinion, what you think 2022 is going to look like for the Preds. Are they going to do anything at the trade deadline? Is Filip Forsberg going to be on the block in a shock move? We want to hear your thoughts. Just tweet us at LO_Predators. Give us your spiciest hot take, and we will grade them on tomorrow morning show.
I love this. As somebody who hates spicy food, Hot Take Tuesday is a delight to me. So can't wait to see.
That's for sure.
Yeah, most of them, every so often.
We've gotten a couple.
Yeah, we've had a few. So we've talked about the herd line, something that maybe needs to be adjusted, addressed, looked into for them to be kind of performing at their best. Nick, what else do the Predators need to improve on or need to address going forward for the most success?
Well, one thing has been their strength for much of the
Mm-hmm.
year,
Mm-hmm.
but not much so over the past month or so, and that's team defense.
Oh,
You,
yes.
you look at, this week and, 46 shots given up to the Edmonton Oilers, 35 shots given up to um, the Seattle Kraken, which was kind of a
Yep.
surprise. Played well against Detroit, but then you had, 39 shots given up against the Winnipeg Jets. So, there's these like chunks of games where it's just the Preds are giving up a lot of offense. And, you hear, I think there was this Hal Gill one time when there's one of these performances, like the other team had like 40 shots or something. And it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of shots on goal, but they're, the Preds are keeping them out of high danger zones. This is just them kind of firing off whatever they can from the point. No, it is
No.
not like that, because you go in the shot maps, the heat
Oh,
maps from the last few games where this is happening, and there's a big old blob of color right in the middle of the
yes.
crease, right around the net, right on the underside of the circles, all of these dangerous opportunities. And I guess the only bright side, Anne, is UC Saros has padded his Vezina resume over the past little bit because of that. But yeah, I mean, you gotta clean that up if you're the Nashville Predators.
Oh, yeah, and we're on the same page, because my second one is you've got to limit the shots that Saros has to field. And we talked about the shot map, and yes, there are some shots that are being taken, from the point, but the problem is that maybe he's not controlling the rebounds, or people are getting in there, and you're automatically generating some high danger chances if he doesn't handle that cleanly. You've got people around the net. You look at those shot maps, the slot is not lava for the other team. They are right there. And there has to be some sort of defensive structure that starts to limit some of these shots. And I think part of it is on Saros a little bit. His rebound control seems a little bit off compared to where he was earlier in the year. Again, very hard to find something to complain about with UC Saros. So, kind of nitpicky on that one.
Yeah.
But part of it is things like zone exit turnovers. You just are turning the puck over, and in high danger areas, you're turning the puck over as you're trying to exit the zone. I think the first pass on a zone exit needs to be the best choice. And so many times I think the Predators are trying to do a little bit too much on that. So we're giving up extended offensive zone time with some of these teams that really not sure that they've earned it like they should. And I agree with you. I think it will help to have Dante Fabro back. I think this is one of
Absolutely.
those things, and we saw it when Matthias Ekholm was out with COVID. You might not realize how good somebody is defensively, because defensive play doesn't necessarily show up on the scorecard. And you really only notice defensive play when it's not great. And I think we're missing Dante Fabro. And I think having the complete Predators defense and the pairings back where we need them to be will make a huge difference. But yeah, we've got to start limiting the shots that Saros is facing. 100% agree.
Yeah, and a big cause of that, Anne, is giveaways. According
Oh,
to Sammy's, the Predators are in the top half of the league when it comes to giveaways. Follow-up stat to that, 60% of the Predators' giveaways this season have been in their defensive zone. Not the neutral zone, not their side of the red
mm-mm.
line, in their defensive zone.
Yeah.
That is just begging the other team to take advantage. And a lot of that
Yes.
is, kind of what you mentioned, botched zone exits, a missed kind of clearing pass out that, just winds up right on the stick.
Yes.
So, you're getting a lot of opportunities for the Preds to kind of control the puck, have a breakout, get some pressure on the other side of the ice. And instead, you're having to have them immediately backpedal and scramble. And that is a big concern because for so much of the early part of the season, when the Predators were doing very well, puck control was one of their biggest
Yes.
checkboxes. They were controlling the puck. They were making smart plays. And I think part of it is when I watch them play, maybe they are getting a little bit more aggressive They're taking some chances, and I think a prime example of that, it was a game last week. It might have been Winnipeg, where Mark Borowiecki went for a big hit, kind of right along the boards on another team's break-in attempt, and the Jets, I think it was the Jets, kind of sidestepped him. Borowiecki missed the hit, and then instead of just kind of a 3-on-3, you're all of a sudden looking at a 2-on-1.
Right.
It was a big swing there. And yeah, I mean, it's stuff like that where it's just, okay, they're coming into the zone, but we have good numbers. We have enough to kind of make it, stagnant. Even if there's a rebound, we have enough people back to control it. And then all of a sudden you just kind of had this play, this step up, the back end scrambles, another person gets out of position, and then all of a sudden this other team has a plus scoring opportunity.
Yes. And, I'm all for Southern hospitality just as much as the next Southern woman, but the giveaways are maddening and I agree with you, have to stop. They're just too expensive and they're coming in the wrong end of the ice. So let's clean that up, shall we?
Let's save the giveaways for Friday when Ann bakes her cookies for the players.
There you go. Yes. That's the hockey giveaway worth investing in.
Yeah. What's one other thing you think the Preds need to improve on, Ann?
Well, one of the things that I think is a key to kind of their success going forward is we need a couple of people to turn on the Ryan Johansen playoff mode. Ryan Johansen, he has just a next level. Fortunately, we're seeing it earlier this season, which has been really great. Last season, he played 48 games. He had 7 goals. He went to the playoffs. They only had 6 games in the playoffs, which is a whole nother conversation. And he had 3 goals. So he has a different pace in the playoffs. And if you think about it, if we could kick Johansen or Cunnin or Jeannot or Trenin, or, I would love to see Ellie Tolvanen kick into that Ryjo extra mode. I feel like that would really push this team over the top and would make them a very difficult team to beat. We've got a very hot top line, and I don't see that changing. So I think if we can get 1 or 2 players to kick into Ryjo extra mode a little before the playoffs, I really think that is going to be an offensive boost that's going to be difficult for other teams to overcome.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that because one note I had, and maybe this is more for David Poile than anybody in the locker room, I think you got to find one more offensive weapon to pair with Ryan Johansen because he's playing some tremendous hockey this season.
Yes.
Maybe his best as a Predator.
It's right up there.
2018, 2019 was really, really good for him. Plus, the end of 2017, that was kind of a rough year overall. But once that second half of the season kicked in, he was phenomenal. But I think you need somebody that can kind of play off him and maybe finish some of the chances he creates. And wasn't that kind of like the big thing with Matt Duchene? What we talked about last year is Matt Duchene was playing really well and creating a lot of chances. He just was kind of buried on the third line. So you didn't have anybody that could kind of finish like all the plays he was making in the corner. I think you need to find one more person for that second line that can finish Ryan Johansen's plays. I don't think that's going to be Luke Cunnin. And I like Luke Cunnin. I think he's a great player. I think he's going to be a big piece for the Nashville Predators, but I don't think he gives you that pop this year. He may still develop into that, great secondary scorer, but we're not seeing it this year. And that's why I'm like, hey, Phil Kessel's out there. Somebody who has played really well, somebody who just based on style of play would kind of fit in with the Predators and especially with Ryan Johansen. That's somebody to keep an eye on. I mean, that's kind of who I'm vouching for. Somebody like that, just, a high scoring winger who can finish chances. I think that makes Tolvanen better on that line too.
Yeah. That I'm just going to throw it out there. That sounds an awful lot like a hot take, Nick.
Oh, are we going to say that for tomorrow?
I feel like that's one I'm going to pour a cold glass of milk on and just see if I need to reach for it, because that feels like a good hot take, which of course we have coming up tomorrow for Hot Take Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we may tackle that. Coming up though, it's Monday. Can't forget what Mondays are all about. Mondays are only and always about plus minus.
Plus minus.
Yeah, the choreography. It's great.
We got it on point. Yeah, if you're not watching us on YouTube, if you're only listening us on audio streaming, you're missing out on some great hand gestures and choreography. It makes Anne's little theater heart burst with excitement.
It does.
So here's how plus minus works. For those of you who are new or just catching us for the first time, we go through every Monday. We give pluses to the Predators players or things we liked from the past week, and we give minuses to the things that we don't like, things that need improvement. So Anne, would you like to start us off with a plus from the past week?
I would be delighted to start us off with a plus. Being a optimist, I like to keep it positive from the outset. So my first plus is going to go to Matt Duchene on the power play. Ooh. I know. So he had a power play goal against Seattle. That was his 9th power play goal of the season, which has him tied in the league with Pastrnak, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Austin Matthews, Mikko Rantanen. This is somebody who is really capitalizing on his time on the ice. It was one of those gritty, dirty cleanup goals against Seattle, but I am loving those because guess what? Count as much as the pretty Filip Forsberg goals, people. I like Duchene kind of down lower on the power play. I think it opens up opportunities, not just for him, but for some other guys on the power play. His best power play goal record was all the way back in 2009, 2010, where he had 10 power play goals in 81 games. He's played 41 games. He's got 9 power play goals. So I'm feeling like that record's not going to stand for Matt Duchene's personal stats. I'm really liking what I'm seeing from Duchene on the man advantage. So shout out to Matt Duchene.
Love that. That is somebody who's
celebrating anything power play goal just still feels bizarre.
Still feels weird. It's like saying the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. Like,
yes.
You hear the words. It's just not exactly processing right away.
Yeah.
And somebody we've talked about earlier, I'm giving a plus to Yossi Saros.
Come on.
He probably gave the Preds a couple extra points that they may not have deserved this week. 44 save performance against Edmonton. I really thought they were going to walk away with a win on that one. I thought he was going to straight up steal that game. I mean, but they got a point out of it, which is stealing enough.
Great.
And 33 saves against the Kraken. So 77 saves over 2 games for Yossi Saros. And the Predators pick up 3 out of 4 possible points. You can't be mad at that, especially, when your team is not quite, I guess, where it should be defensively. Having a goaltender that's as good as Saros steals points for you and gets the Predators kind of closer to where they need to be and helps get the Preds through some bad stretches. Saros certainly did that this week.
Yes, Yossi Saros, I'm telling you, we talk about it, but I think we can get complacent in understanding just how good he is and just how much he is contributing to the success of this team in this season so far. So I agree with you. Shout out and not enough kudos for Yossi Saros. I don't know if there are enough kudos for Yossi Saros, but now there's always
get him a nice fruit basket
or a plate of cookies. I don't know.
Or both.
Or both. Yeah. There you go. Now, there's always opportunities for growth, Nick. We've got to talk about some minuses for the week. My first minus is the shootout goals. Can we talk about shootout goals? Okay, the only thing that's worse than the slow-mo Rijo shootout goal that just doesn't go in is when you see somebody like Matt Duchene or Roman Josi or Filip Forsberg or all of them miss. Maddening. Shootout goals just feel like they should be a little easier to come by. And, there's a part of me that's like, okay, Filip Forsberg, you have skated 200 feet down the ice and thwacked the shot past the goalie. Just speed up and do that. Don't be too fancy. Don't be too tricky. The shootout goals was disappointing. And I, Matt Duchene talked about it after the Edmonton game, that he was kind of disappointed and frustrated about the shootout goals. And it's been a struggle for him in his game. We got to take advantage of opportunities like that.
Yeah, well, the Duchene one particularly was probably the Preds' best chance in that Oilers shootout. That little scorpion kick from Mikko Koskinen, that the last second they kept that off the board, but he had him beat, and he knew probably a better shot would have put the Preds on the board there. Do you think we'll ever see a shootout attempt where it's just somebody skates in, like, right at the circle and just slap shots it? Like, do you think we'll ever see that? Like Gunnar Stahl from D2, the Mighty Ducks, where he just stops, loads up, and then just whacks it as hard as he can. Do you think we'll ever see that in a shootout?
If this is our best doing it the traditional way, why not? Yeah. I can see John Hines having an absolute heart attack on the pitch if that happened.
Who on the current Preds do you think would have the best chance of scoring like that?
Roman Josi.
On a just a slap shot, really?
Yeah, I'd say Roman Josi. Who would you say?
Forsberg, I guess.
Yeah. Tolvanen, maybe.
Tolvanen's a good one. This is where you miss Shea Weber, I guess.
Yes. See, that's what you need. That's exactly what you need. Yep. Yeah, you need that shot.
Yeah. Once he reassembles himself, maybe that's a trade the Predators make just for a novelty shootout goal. Yeah. And we mentioned the herd line earlier. Yes. One player in particular that's going to get a minus this week, and that's Yakov Trenin, which hurts my heart.
Hurts my mama heart. Yeah.
He seems like he hasn't come all the way back from the week or so he missed from COVID. No points in the past 5 games. We talk about the herd line maybe not having as much of an offensive presence. At least Jeannot and Sissons have gotten on the board over the past handful of games. Trenin just hasn't had that same impact since he's been back. And you kind of notice when you look at the ice time stats, he's getting a little bit fewer shifts.
Yes.
Still great on the penalty kill, but he's just not having that physical presence that we've seen from him earlier in this year. Not noticeable. And it kind of goes back to what you're saying. They're not doing anything wrong. Like, they're not blowing games, but not noticeable. And Trenin, I think, is a big part of that because, everybody talks about, Jeannot kind of being the Calder guy and having a scoring season. Everybody forgot that Yakov Trenin, towards the end of last year was kind of becoming a consistent, power forward scorer.
Yes.
Player, somebody who can go and, kind of press his way to the dirty areas, get loose pucks, get rebounds, score from like tight spots around the net. We need more of that. Yakov Trenin, moving forward.
Yes, and I miss that Yakov Trenin. It's hard to give a minus to him because, like you said, they're doing a lot of things right, but really want to see some more offense from the Yak for sure. Of course, we can't end on a negative. That's just not who we are as people.
It's not.
So I want to circle back to something we already touched on, but I think cannot go without being in the plus column, and that is Roman Josi, All-Star.
About time.
I mean, what were y'all thinking? Are you joking? Yes, Roman Josi to the All-Star game. Again, universe writing itself because this is just, it's Roman Josi, what he contributes on ice, what he contributes off ice. And, Roman Josi has taken some heat over the last couple seasons as a captain. Maybe he's not a great leader. Maybe he's not, which is a bunch of bunk. The idea that you have to have volume to have leadership is ridiculous and probably something that hockey in general as a culture should address. But yeah, Roman Josi, All-Star game, love it. Glad to see it, deserves to be there. And it's not at all a consolation prize. This is where he belongs.
Yeah. The best volume he has is in his hair.
Oh, and it is lovely.
It is lovely. You should get the Norris just for that.
Yes.
And I would like to end on a positive note of my own. My last plus is for Filip Forsberg's history. So get this. Filip Forsberg on pace this season for 47 goals.
Come
Which would be
on.
the Preds team record. Team record is 34, so that would shatter that.
Yeah.
He's on pace for 36 5v5 goals. Team record is 29. 11 goals away from breaking David Legwand's all-time Predators record. Legwand has 210 with the Preds. Forsberg right now at 200. So he's 11 goals away from being the Preds' all-time leading goal scorer, plus on pace for 77 points, which would be the second highest total in team history. Although I should mention Roman Josi's on pace for 80 this season. So yeah, Filip Forsberg is going to wind up shattering a lot of Preds history this year if he keeps up his current play, and he hasn't really shown any signs of slowing down, so that's positive. And yeah, the man is going to get paid this summer.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody.
Oh, let it be David Poile signing that check. Can we just all agree on that? Or maybe we'll save that for Hot Take Tuesday. I don't know. But yeah, Filip Forsberg is just at a whole different level. And it's so fascinating to hear how close he is to all of those records. So I suspect we're going to be talking about Filip Forsberg and not just contract talks, but just his play coming up here in the next couple of weeks and months. Man, love seeing it.
I feel like that is going to be a big a big topic of conversation over the next little bit. Deservedly so. That was a hard word to say. Again, Bengals.
Bengals.
Well, we mentioned tomorrow is Hot Take Tuesday. Let us know your hot takes. Tweet them at LO_Predators. We will grade all of them on air. Also, the Preds play the Vancouver Canucks tomorrow. We'll have a full preview of that game. In the meantime, Ann, where can the people find your work?
You can find my work at ontheforecheck.com, and you can find me on Twitter at ANK_Mama on Ice.
I'm Nick Morgan. You can find my work at ontheforecheck.com as well. Follow me on Twitter at _NSMorgan. That is going to do it for us today here at Locked On Predators. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We will see you tomorrow for Hot Take Tuesday and Predators versus Canucks preview. See you, everybody.